The story of niacin deficiency and its most severe manifestation, pellagra, is one of the most striking examples of how nutrition and mental health have been tragically misunderstood throughout history. Pellagra is classically defined by the three Ds: dermatitis, diarrhea, and dementia. But for decades, particularly in the early 20th century, the dementia aspect was often misdiagnosed as mental illness rather than recognized as a biological, nutrient-based disorder. Thousands of people, especially in poor, corn-based diets of the American South and parts of Europe, were institutionalized in asylums not because of psychiatric disorders, but because of a simple lack of niacin in their diet. This historic misdiagnosis is not just a curious footnote. It reveals a dangerous blind spot that still echoes in modern medicine. In an era before vitamins were understood, doctors witnessing the aggression, confusion, memory loss, and paranoia associated with pellagra assumed they were treating schizophrenia, psychosis, or early-onset dementia. Meanwhile, the real solution was not electroshock therapy or confinement. It was adequate intake of vitamin B3. Once niacin or tryptophan-rich foods were introduced, the mental symptoms often reversed dramatically. But the damage, in both human suffering and medical assumptions, had already been done. The broader implication is chilling. If such a profound neurological collapse could be caused by a single nutrient deficiency, how many modern-day cognitive or mood disorders are similarly mischaracterized? In today's mental health landscape, where anxiety, depression, brain fog, and cognitive decline are widespread, how often are micronutrient imbalances even considered? The truth is rarely. Mainstream psychiatry tends to default to neurochemical explanations involving neurotransmitters and receptors, often leading to lifelong medication rather than a holistic analysis of diet and metabolic health. This bias towards psychopharmacology over nutritional assessment persists even though the brain, like any organ, cannot function properly when deprived of essential cofactors like niacin. What's especially revealing about pellagra is that it doesn't only highlight a deficiency, it exposes how the medical system can pathologize malnutrition as mental illness. The fact that this condition disproportionately affected the poor, those reliant on corn, a food low in bioavailable niacin, adds a layer of social and class-based neglect to the story. It wasn't until the 1930s and 1940s that Joseph Goldberger and other researchers demonstrated pellagra's nutritional cause, finally turning the tide. But the stigma and institutionalization of countless sufferers left a scar on how niacin is viewed, even now. It remains classified as a simple B vitamin, not the essential brain protector it truly is. Even today, subclinical niacin deficiency may manifest as symptoms that overlap with psychiatric conditions: low motivation, anxiety, irritability, poor concentration, insomnia, and cognitive dullness. But these are almost never investigated in terms of B3 status, especially in populations eating calorie-rich but nutrient-poor diets. Niacin's legacy is that of a solved deficiency, yet its importance to brain function is ongoing, especially in the context of stress, aging, addiction recovery, or chronic illness, where NAD demands increase and reserves are depleted. Perhaps most importantly, this history serves as a warning. Our current medical paradigm still underappreciates the role of basic nutrients in mental and neurological health. Niacin's misdiagnosis as a psychiatric issue should remind us that mental dysfunction can have physical, nutritional causes. It should also provoke a reassessment of how we approach brain health, not just through the lens of neurotransmitters and genetics, but with a more foundational look at metabolic integrity, nutrient sufficiency, and the complex biochemistry that keeps the brain functioning. So while pellagra may now be rare, its legacy is not. The shadow it casts still influences how niacin is perceived in relation to brain health and psychiatry. It remains underutilized, under-researched, and underestimated. But if we understand this history clearly, it offers an opportunity, not just to restore niacin to its rightful place in nutritional science, but to shift how we approach the intersection of mental health, diet, and disease in the modern world.